In this video, I wanted to show you very easy patterns to start with if you want to start making your own clothes, because we are moving into a new season and I know people will want to shop for a fall wardrobe, and I don't want people to go out and buy fast fashion. So this is my contribution to save the world and save the planet from overconsumption. DIY, like make your own clothes or buy them secondhand. But in this video, I'll show you beginner-friendly sewing patterns and some tips and tricks on how to know if a pattern is easy to make. And I will also go through the essentials to get started with your first project. I have bought a new chair and it's making more sound than the old one. This one is an old Karin Mobring IKEA chair from the 70s that I bought yesterday, and I'm very excited about it. But it needs some cushions, and after that I think it will be fine. But for now I have just another cushion, and yeah, it's making a little sound. So I'm gonna show you the chair soon. As you may or may not know, I am Swedish, but I live in Copenhagen. And Copenhagen, Denmark is such a great place to be if you are a creative, because so many people here are creative. People are DIYing everything and creating like a lot of cool things here. And I think that is super inspiring. And something that I've seen a lot here is people starting their own brands. And there are a lot of sewing brands or sewing pattern brands here in Copenhagen. The first sewing pattern brand that I wanted to mention is Wardrobe by Me. I have worked with them in a collaboration previously. It was actually around this time, but last year. Wardrobe by Me is owned by a very nice and lovely woman who lives outside of Copenhagen. She's been in the industry for a long time and she knows everything about pattern making, and she makes patterns both for men and for women. So if you are looking for like basic things to sew for men, this might be an option for you, because there are way more patterns out there for women's clothes. I have made this worker's jacket, or she calls it a painter's jacket, in so many different versions. I've made it a lot of times, and I have made myself, I think maybe 6 different types, and I have also made my husband a couple, and it's a very easy pattern to start with. It's maybe not the easiest, but I think it's a good project, and I think you will manage, even though if you don't have a lot of expertise in sewing. It's easy to follow along the instructions, and I think the trickiest part is to attach the collar on the right side and to have it like, because you have to flip it over. But if you follow the instructions, I'm sure you will be fine. And I think she also has YouTube tutorials or some kind of video tutorials that you can follow. You will notice that a lot of patterns are kind of the same. It's just like the angles and the lengths that differ, but the technique is very often the same for this type of jacket and also shirts. She also has this cargo pant pattern that I have at home, and I'm actually gonna try it soon because I think it looks cool. She told me that the pattern is a little bit more high-waisted than what it looks like on this model, because she's wearing a size that is a little loose on her. So that's cool to know, because I wanted something that wasn't super low. And if you go online on her website and you see a familiar face, that's because I also did some modeling for her brand last year, which was super fun. They were very lovely. I was a bit nervous. I'm not a professional model, but it was fun. If you are into a very Copenhagen Scandi chic fashion, I think Puff and Pencil is the perfect brand for you. They look super easy to follow. I haven't tried them myself actually, but it's very like you can kind of build it yourself. So a vest can easily become a shirt if you add sleeves. You can add some different details, and I think this is super important to know when you are sewing, that if you have like a good basic pattern for something that you like, you can super easily change different details and make it into something completely else. So sewing is really just about problem solving and just putting things together. Unless you're making like haute couture or something like that, it's not that complicated, so keep that in mind. But a few patterns that I like from Puff and Pencil are these ones. This is very Scandi chic. You can see it both on brands such as Ganni. You can see it in cheaper brands and stores as well. So the little bows, I feel that's something everyone wears here in Copenhagen at the moment. It's kind of mainstream, but it's still cute. They also have patterns for some accessories that I think is fun to try out, and I would actually like to try out this pattern. When it comes to lovely people here in Copenhagen, I wanted to mention this brand. It's called Søm Patterns, and it means seam in Danish and in Swedish as well. And it's owned by Christine, and she is super nice. I have met her and she's very lovely and super cool. And she has also worked in fashion for many years and knows everything about patterns. So if you're into very minimalist and Scandinavian chic clothes, this is your brand. Christina also makes patterns for kids' clothes. She has kids herself, and it's super cute to see kids in these little pants and this little jacket. I think it's very cute. And it's easy to kind of match your kids with your own style when you make clothes from her patterns. She also has a new pattern that I'm very excited about. I haven't seen it fully myself yet, but she says it's about to be released in the next couple of weeks. So I'm very excited about seeing it, but I have seen this detail, which I think looked very smart. When you are making shirts, I think that the trickiest part, at least for me, when I made the first shirts that were like traditional shirts, is this piece, the collar piece. So you have like a standing collar thingy that goes here, and then you attach the actual collar. That is a bit tricky because it's like small pieces and you want the seams to be very neat. But what I like about her pieces is that a lot of the pieces are in one piece. So for instance, if you elongate this part of the shirt and then you can flip it over, that will create a collar without the extra pieces. So she makes very simple designs that look very elegant. And then she makes them in fabrics. You can obviously choose whatever fabric you like, but she makes them in very like calming colors, and they just look very like sleek and elegant and cool. Very Scandinavian, like traditional Scandinavian chic styles. A friend of mine have asked me if I know any sewing patterns for loose, very like easy to wear pants. And then the other day I found this pattern, also Copenhagen based brand. It's called Uma Patterns or Uma Patterns. And these pants look to me very simple to make. So how to know if a pattern is easy to follow? Well, obviously it can differ depending on how well the instructions are written. But one thing that I always look for when I'm making my own pattern or making my own item or garment, or when I'm buying a pattern, is if it's a lot of different pieces. A skirt or a dress that is like two pieces, maybe a front and a back, is easier to make than something that has a lot of different details. And the smaller the details, you might think that small things are easy to make, but it's usually the other way around, I feel, because smaller things are, you have to be more like detailed when you're making your seams and so on, while a bigger piece is more forgiving usually. I think these pants look perfect if you want to make your first pair of pants. They look super cozy, and I asked them if they're gonna make a pattern with pockets, because this one that is online now doesn't have pockets. But pockets are nice to have in pants Even though if it's just like a pajama pant, I think it's nice to have pockets. And they will update this pattern with pockets. So a pattern such as this one for pants it can be two parts. It can be, sometimes it's like one leg is one piece and the other leg is another piece, and you don't have pockets, and so you have like two pieces like this, and then the two tubes will become legs. And that is very easy to make, and it's just like a matter of proportions and having the right size. And sometimes it can be like a separate waistband, but sometimes it's also that you just fold the waist down, and that will become the waistband, and you put an elastic in. Very easy, like the easiest way to make pants. With pockets, obviously you will need more steps. Pockets can be a bit more tricky the first time you make them. I still get confused sometimes because you have to sew the pocket on the right side of the pant and then flip it over, and sometimes I get confused if I'm doing it on the right side or the wrong side and so on. But if you follow instructions, it's easy, and there are so many YouTube tutorials out there to show you how to sew zippers, how to sew nice hems, how to do anything, how to make nice pockets. So you will be fine, I'm sure. A couple of weeks ago I made this dress and I got a lot of nice comments about it. I made it in a transparent thin cotton fabric with a little bit of structure, which was a very good option for this dress. But this dress, it might look hard, maybe, I don't know. For some people it might look hard, but it's honestly so easy. Again, it's just like one piece in the back and one piece in the front, and then the front has been folded to create that effect. So if you have a pattern that is like two pieces as this one, I'm sure it will be very easy for you to make, I promise, and you will have like a good effect. I think you should go for pieces that you will feel very proud of when you wear. So if you are just starting, I think it's way more fun to start with a dress than to start with a tote bag. But if you want to start with a tote bag, that's completely fine as well. Some people just want to practice with like a tote bag, but I think for me, I started without any patterns or anything. I just started by trying to figure things out with an old sheet, and then from there I started buying patterns way later. Sewing clothes is only about problem solving. I find it sometimes hard to find patterns for jackets and coats, especially now when we are moving into fall and you might want to have like a nice coat or a nice jacket. A lot of the patterns out there are for blouses, for dresses, for skirts and so on, but Mönsterfabriken has this coat that is amazing, and I have actually bought this one, and I'm gonna make a coat for my friend. And I'm very excited because I have never used this pattern, but it looked super cool, and you can choose whether you want it to be delivered to your home or actually maybe I couldn't choose to print it at home. I'm not sure about that. Last but not least is SelfMade. I don't know if it's Swedish or Danish or where they are like based, but it's a big brand, and it's also physical stores here in Scandinavia where you can buy fabric and all sewing supplies that you need. It was previously called Stoff och Stil, which means fabric and style, I guess, but now it's called SelfMade, which is actually a worse name. But they also make patterns that are super duper easy. So if you're looking for beginner-friendly patterns that aren't necessarily super cool, but can be cool, I think SelfMade is a good option. I think that some of their pieces look, to me, not super modern, but I also have used a lot of their pieces or a lot of their patterns a lot of times. So there are some good patterns there, and they are super easy to follow, like super duper easy. And the instructions come in different languages, and they have done this for many years, so it's a safe option. A brand that isn't Scandinavian but that offers nice patterns for men as well is Allan, and I have followed him on YouTube, and I saw him come from out of nowhere and then become super big. And I think it's super cool with guys that show how to create clothes and show other guys, I think, how they can make their own clothes. So I'm a big fan of Allan, and this cargo pant brand. I bought this one, was it last week? Because it was recently my husband's birthday and I want to make him a pair of cargo pants. And it was quite hard to find nice cargo pant patterns online for men, so I'm very excited about this. I haven't made it yet, but I'm gonna do it as soon as possible, maybe later this week when my husband is away and he can receive it as kind of a surprise. He also knows that he will receive a pair of cargo pants soon. To start sewing, you honestly don't need much. You need a sewing machine, and if you don't have one, I think you should start by borrowing one. Some libraries here in Copenhagen offer workshops for free, where you can come and you can try it and make your own project. I think that is super cool. I don't know if this exists in other parts, but there must be some places in your local community where you can borrow a sewing machine, or if you have like a neighbor or a friend or a mom or someone who has one, I think you should start by borrowing one. If you're ready to buy your first sewing machine, I would recommend that you buy an older second-hand one. I have a Husqvarna automatic. It's from the 50s, but it's a good one. It's a sturdy machine that can sew through anything, and I'm super happy with it. And the needles and everything that we buy in the stores that are new work for this one. You just need to make sure that it's for the right brand. If you buy new, what is it called, bobbins, where you spin the under thread. You can always ask in the fabric supply store. People that work in fabric supply stores are always super lovely and like creative projects, so they are always there to help you. Something else that I think is good to know when you start sewing your first project is that the fabric that you choose will kind of dictate how hard or easy it is to make. So if you go for a cotton that isn't super thin or super thick, but like a normal cotton, I think you will do very well, because that's way easier than to sew in thin fabrics and also stretchy fabrics. I would encourage you to start with a cotton fabric. So make your first shirt or dress or whatever you want to make in cotton, because a stretchy fabric is more tricky. Other than that, I don't think you need much, honestly. Like, you need needles. They usually come with a machine that you buy. If you need to buy them, you can find them in a fabric supply store or online, and they are the same measurements pretty much for all the standard sewing machines. You need thread, same here, it's not too complicated. Most like standard threads work for most projects, and don't buy too many different colors. Like I use white and black, and then if I'm using a fabric in a specific color, I buy a smaller thread roll for that specific project. Don't overcomplicate it, and always choose secondhand first. There are so many good machines that have so many years left in them, so I think that's a better option than to buy a new machine from a brand but that is cheap. Go for the old ones. They are more reliable. If you have any questions or want me to make another video about going into the details about sewing, let me know in the comments and I might do it. I don't like doing tutorials. I have done a few, but it takes so much time for me to film and to edit, and I'm doing everything myself, so it takes me a lot of time to do so. And also I don't feel very patient with teaching, unfortunately, but I'm here to inspire. But any questions at all, let me know in the comments. And if you have a cool pattern brand that you want to share with me, please let me know. I'm always on the lookout for new patterns. And also, if you want me to do a video with patterns that are a bit more difficult and advanced, let me know, because I also have some options for that, but this video was for the beginners and for more simple projects. If this video was helpful, please like it, and I hope to see you soon again.